It's Groundhog Day here in Toronto again, as Maple Leafs fans' worst nightmares are coming to reality. In one single game, the Toronto Maple Leafs lose Ryan O'Reilly to LTIR, John Tavares not feeling like himself, and Auston Matthews takes a shot to the leg, injuring him a little bit, not quite out of the lineup, but definitely shaken up. Breaking down the new lines looking ahead and how the Toronto Maple Leafs lost essentially all of their center depth in one single game. What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. Yes, the worst possible news breaks today with two of the Leafs' top centermen being announced out. We will get into all of that, break down what happened and what the new lines will look like here as we go through the rest of this week. But first, I want to remind people, if you are watching this right now and you haven't hit subscribe, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 5,000 followers, 5,000 subscribers by the playoff time, and about 50% of the people who watch every single one of these videos are not subscribed to the channel. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and also let me know in the comments below your thoughts on everything that's gone down, how the Leafs proceed going forward, and how panicked you are ahead of the playoff time with these injuries. But let's start here first with Ryan O'Reilly being put on LTIR. So, in the game against the Vancouver Canucks the other day, Ryan O'Reilly takes a shot to the finger from Auston Matthews, leaves the game unable to return. We see photos of him surface online with a splint on his finger after. There's a lot of speculation. Maybe it's a sprain, a fracture, whatever. Maybe it's broken. And then ultimately today it is announced that Ryan O'Reilly has been placed on LTIR until at least March 29th, according to David Alter. That is how long he would have to be out for with this placement on LTIR, and will not be able to play with this Leafs team with a broken finger. Great. The Toronto Maple Leafs, brand new acquisition that they paid a bunch for before the trade deadline. Get him here, get him acclimated, and get ready to go. The big ticket piece, the one piece to push you over the edge and give you everything that you needed in Ryan O'Reilly, out. This feels eerily similar to what happened when the Toronto Maple Leafs went and traded for Nick Foligno. He gets to the team, has a back injury that puts him out, and he is not the same player for the Maple Leafs after the fact. Can barely skate, essentially. Now, let's hope Ryan O'Reilly ends up being okay. After the month, he can come back and play back to normal, but we all know that hand injuries can have some severe impact. We saw Wayne Simmons in his time with the Leafs during the bubble year. He took a shot to the hand, broke his hand on the power play, and ended up coming back and just not being the same player. We essentially lost Wayne Simmons for what he was. We got him back for a fraction when he returned from his injury. So there's a lot of concern with this Leafs team after seeing a few of these injuries that have led up to playoffs in years past and how it's affected the team. Now, this is a big deal because not only was he a big acquisition, but he was an instrumental piece into the center depth of this team. Yes, we played him on the second line center and moved John Tavares over to the wing, experiment some things. It allows you some versatility, move guys around, try different things out. But ultimately, the fact is, it allowed us an opportunity to have one of, if not the best, three centers, maybe even four centers in the NHL. With Ryan O'Reilly going out, this is a cause for major concern. Now, obviously, the Leafs are still going to make the playoffs. That's not an issue there. It's more a matter of who are they going to play? Are they going to be at home? What's going to happen with that? And then on top of that, the big concern comes with what happens with Ryan O'Reilly when he does return. Is he going to be 100% the same player again? Is he going to be able to jump back in? Is the 1 month thing on the LTIR just precautionary to let him play it out for a little bit longer? Maybe he only needed 1-2 weeks, and you're just going to let him have that amount of time to get himself back to normal, like kind of what we saw with Matt Murray or Auston Matthews during this season specifically. I'm not entirely sure, but the fact that he broke his finger does not sound great. It sounds like there will be an extended healing period, and then ultimately after the fact, then he's going to start training, trying to get himself back to normal. So plenty of concern there. It is hairy here in Toronto with what's going on. You're seeing a lot of people online frustrated with the lack of moves on Friday in the trade deadline, the fact that the Toronto Maple Leafs didn't go out and acquire any other forwards, especially with some of the extra capital that they had from some of the trades that went down on Tuesday. But it does ultimately look like this Leafs team was trying to add Nyes as their final piece. That is their plan all along. So we'll see how things play out ahead of this deadline. But for the time being, not too great. Now, the other part of this, John Tavares is out. Now, With John Tavares being out, it's not overly concerning, but there are some pieces where it is a little bit of a head scratcher of wondering what's going on. So it was first reported that John Tavares was on the ice this morning, but wearing a gray sweater, an extra practice jersey. Then it comes out from David LTIR that Sheldon Keefe says John Tavares is not feeling himself. He'll be out of the lineup tomorrow out of precaution. That will be in the next game against the New Jersey Devils that they have coming up on Tuesday night. So it is a precaution thing. Keep him out. Well, if he's not feeling like himself, but he was able to practice, what is going on with John Tavares? Because if he's on the ice with everybody, then he's obviously not sick. But if he's not feeling like himself and can't play, something is up. Well, on Saturday night against the Vancouver Canucks, we saw him take 2 big hits, one of which was from Tyler Myers. That was massive, essentially. It was a very, very big hit from Tyler Myers. That hit took out John Tavares. He continued to play the rest of the game, but it results in a fight from Jake McCabe stepping in to step up for John Tavares. That being said, looking at a guy who had some concussion history in their last playoff series against the Montreal Canadiens, the fact that he takes a big hit in which it's likely that there was some head rattling going on from Tyler Myers there, that hit on John Tavares, it's a little bit of a concerning factor that a couple days later he's not feeling himself and can't play in the next game against the Devils for precautionary reasons. This doesn't say he's ill, he's sick, he's come down with the flu. This kind of screams he was shaken up from those hits and from that game on Saturday night. He just played through it, and ultimately sitting here, he's not feeling the best after the fact. That is concerning, not because of the short term. Again, this Leafs team's still going to make the playoffs. They have guys they can call up that are good players to fill into roles, but more so for down the road. How is this going to affect him long term? This guy has dealt with some head injuries. He dealt with a pretty serious one in that Habs series. We saw Jake Muzzin deal with a bunch of different head injuries, and once they go, it can come pretty quickly. They can come and go very fast in a player's career and have some damage, long-term damage that is. So, where will John Tavares be a week from now? Is he going to be feeling himself? How easy is it going to be for him to get into this mode of not feeling himself again if he takes another hit? These are all concerning factors for the Maple Leafs right now in terms of how do you respond losing 2 of your best centers, especially in a year where Matthews is having a down year production-wise. This is pretty concerning for Leafs fans everywhere, having to see John Tavares go down like that and not be able to continue on and play in the next game. So for me to sit here, hear that news that John Tavares is not feeling himself, it starts to concern me that this might be a head, neck, concussion kind of issue. And for considering that he dealt with this against the Habs and we're leading into the playoffs here, it's concerning. I am ultimately glad, though, that this happens earlier on than later. You don't want to be 2 weeks ahead of the playoffs having this happen. So to have it happen and be out on March 6th here, it's at least enough of a buffer period before the playoffs. But it is still quite concerning for this Leafs team about what you do now that 2 of your best centers are dealing with something, and your third, or probably your number 1 center, but the third of that group of the top tier centers, he hasn't really been playing like himself this year offensively, and he did take a shot to the knee against the Vancouver Canucks on Saturday night, so that is a concerning piece of information as well. But now the final thing, where do you go from here? What is next? Well, new look lines for the Maple Leafs, as tweeted out by both Mark Masters and David LTIR this morning. So, in terms of what the new lineup is, they sent down Joseph Woll. They end up bringing up Pontus Holmberg, Alex Steeves, so the new lines look as such. Kerfoot, first line left wing with Matthews and Marner. Yarncroke, second line left wing with Lafferty centering William Nylander. Aston Reese, third line with David Kampf, Nola Chari, and the fourth line of Bunting, Holmberg, and Steeves. John Tavares was obviously wearing the extra jersey, and Ryan O'Reilly did not practice with that broken finger. So in terms of what the lines are, starting with the first line, Kerfoot, Matthews, and Marner. Very clearly here, Sheldon Keefe has not liked what Michael Bunting has brought to the lineup. Over the past couple of weeks, Bunting's play has severely fallen off. He's not been a help to Matthews or Marner up there. He's not producing offensively, and more times than not, he's getting penalties called on himself as opposed to drawing penalties to opponents, and refs haven't really taken kindly to it either, which doesn't help the Leafs much at all. So, Michael Bunting gets demoted down to the fourth line. They give Kerfoot a shot on the first. Kerfoot, obviously a very controversial player here in Toronto. I understand why, but sitting at $3.5 million, the fact that you were so adamant about keeping him around kind of makes sense to jump him up there. He has had some playing time around them, and he was a guy who stepped up well in situations before where players have gone down. He kind of elevated to the occasion, specifically looking to that first series against the Montreal Canadiens when John Tavares went out. Him and William Nylander were studs in that year, both playing pretty well, so Kerfoot jumping up there to me does make sense. Now, the second line here, Järnkrok, Lafferty, Nylander. This one is very interesting to me. I wasn't really sure what I was looking at when I saw Lafferty had jumped up to the second line. Järnkrok to me is the no-brainer to move up and play the wing on that one, but Lafferty was very interesting, especially considering the fact that you did call up Holmberg, you do have Achari there, and now you're playing with two centers on that third line in Achari and Kampf. So, interesting move to me. We'll see how it plays out, but ultimately you're going to look at that line. They are going to be fast. Sam Lafferty has proven to all Leafs fans once he got here, he is fast, he will check, and he gets in on the forecheck hard. So ultimately what I'm looking for out of that line is to just basically take your speed to the other team, make them not sure what they can do about it or what they can do with it, forecheck hard, and then give William Nylander and Järnkrok opportunities to score. Those are guys who can put the puck in the net. William Nylander is having a career year, and if you get him the puck in any position in the offensive zone, he can create something out of it. So looking for Lafferty and Järnkrok to basically jam pucks free, win battles, get the puck to William Nylander, and that line of those three guys could be a problem speed-wise for the next little while John Tavares remains out. So interesting to see there. I want to see what happens with Lafferty and how he plays, but let's look again at the third line here. Aston Reese, Kampf, Achari. All you're looking for out of that line, play hard, play defensive, don't allow any goals against, forecheck the hell out of the other team. The more that this line can get into the offensive zone, not spend time in the defensive zone, and just wear teams down, wear players down, force them to ice the puck, or be able to get changes while you're holding them in their zone, the better that line is. That's ultimately what I'm looking for from them. Get in the offensive zone, forecheck hard, bang bodies, create some opportunities in terms of being able to bring your first line or your second line back out after the fact. But that is essentially a prototypical checking line here, and we'll see how they play together, because that could be something we look at in the playoffs as a fourth line opportunity between Aston Reese, Kampf, and Achari. That's the one line I look at and say they'll likely be together or could be together come playoff time. And final line, you're looking at Bunting, Holmberg, and Steeves. As far as Holmberg and Steeves go, it makes sense for them to hop in here on the fourth line, shelter some minutes, not really going to have to be forced to do too much. Michael Bunting, though, that is the interesting one. As I talked about, he was demoted. This is your opportunity, Bunting, to show that you can do something here to make a positive impact, and you're more than just a guy who capitalizes from playing with Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Mitch Marner. Show us you've got something up your sleeve to be able to create opportunities for yourself. Be a problem out on the ice. Use Holmberg and Steeves, their defensive ability, their hockey IQ to your advantage, and ultimately don't be a defensive liability. Don't create penalties that you get called on yourself. Maybe see if you can create some opportunities to draw penalties against the other team, but you got to show Sheldon Keefe that you got something here and you can be an impactful player for this Leafs team. So, Leafs fans, that's about where we're at with this new lineup and these guys being out after today. If you enjoyed the content here, please make sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and let me know your thoughts below in the comments about the movement that went on here today. We are trying to get to 5K subscribers, so every subscriber counts, and no need for 50% of our viewers to not be subscribed to this channel. Hit that subscribe button. Don't be a freeloader. Enjoy what we get to see over this Leafs team over the next couple of days. I'm sure we'll see some more announcements. Maybe John Tavares will be feeling better tomorrow, be in better spirits, and be able to play in the next game. But thank you so much for tuning in here today. Leafs fans, look forward to seeing you guys very soon. Keep believing.